A brave and valiant warrior defeats the Lord of the Underworld in a distant, different reality. This fight is not an easy one, but thanks to his outstanding skills, he still defeats true evil. The hero, who in recent years has defended the peace and quiet of an entire continent, wins universal admiration and glory. However, he himself only smiles quietly, thinking that he will finally be able to return to his own world. Suddenly, his body is transported to another space, and a powerful entity appears before him. The hero raises his head and, addressing the creature, complains that due to endless restarts, he is forced to start all over again. The creature, looking at him, says that it will indeed return him home after so many exploits. Then the hero reminds that he was actually kidnapped from another reality and forced to work for 20 years for the benefit of another world. He remarks with brazen directness that he wanted to at least keep his memories or get a little magic. To this, the entity replies that time in his home world stops, and he, in essence, loses nothing. The hero nevertheless admits that he has no choice, and then the entity says that compensation for all the years will be provided. The creature then hands him a shard of supreme power, which grants him the ability to transform this world at will. The hero remains silent, and then cautiously asks if it could at least hint at what awaits him ahead. Such naivety may make cynical people smile, but the hero has suffered too much and needs hope. By its silence, the entity hints that it will not give an answer, and the protagonist becomes indignant and declares that everything always ends in emptiness. The entity does not pull him back, as it finds the despair of this man, who is already tired of eternal battles, amusing. Soon he hears that it is time to leave, and tries to object that he has not said everything yet, but it is becoming too late. A shining sphere of light envelops his body, and the process of returning to his home world begins. The great warrior flies into the abyss and soon loses consciousness as cosmic forces begin to act on him. The last thing he remembers is a bright light that blinds him, simultaneously changing his body almost beyond recognition. He woke up in the form of a young boy named Harry, lying in bed, blinded by a bright light. Sitting up awkwardly and yawning widely, he's surprised to think that he feels an extraordinary freshness. Picking up his phone, he notices dozens of missed messages from his manager. Realizing that he has overslept, Harry jumps out of bed and rushes to work to avoid a severe reprimand. He soon runs into a convenience store where he is immediately met by an irritated manager who is not happy about such a blunder. He is told that if he continues to be late, cooperation with him will become impossible. At the checkout, he sighs heavily, realizing that his life is becoming a real hell. Overdue rent, 2 part-time jobs that don't help the situation, and the prospect of losing this job too. He thinks that if he awakened, everything would be different, and suddenly the system tells him that he gets the Skill Master feature. Awakened are people who are often referred to as users. 5 years have passed since the world was engulfed by a new reality, as if taken from the pages of a terrible novel. Special zones full of monsters and new resources begin to appear on Earth, and now the world revolves around these fields and riches. Users are given the power to conquer and explore these dangerous spaces. Even small tasks in the fields can bring good money, and that is why everyone dreams of awakening. Of course, it means stepping into the unknown, but the rewards are too tempting to refuse. Of course, not everyone becomes rich because some get unique high-level abilities from the very beginning, while others do not. At the top of all users stands only one person, the first in the world to reach level 70, named Muhammad Al. The owner of a unique ability called Dragon's Tongue one day posts a video on his channel. Thousands of viewers immediately stare at the screen, unable to tear themselves away. The recording shows the legendary warrior fighting monsters using the magic that every mage dreams of. The culmination of the battle is the Meteor Rain spell, which destroys all opponents in an instant. Viewers are shocked when they watch the screen and think that they are incredibly lucky to see this with their own eyes. They are surprised that even in an A-rank field, this person can handle this alone. Enormous meteors sweep away everything in their path, and monsters capable of destroying cities cannot withstand even one blow. When the fight ends, only Muhammad Al remains standing among the incinerated craters. He then turns to the audience and states that through their eyes, they have just seen an SS rank ability called Meteor Shower. He adds that if, a week after publication, someone shows something more powerful, he will give the Ring of Elements to the winner. This is the first and only SS rank artifact in the world, which is the dream of any magician. When the video ends, one woman throws her phone down on the table in irritation and says that she thinks the hero of the video is an idiot and a pathetic braggart. Her companion notes with surprise that the very offer of such a reward is already becoming a huge event. But the woman, seething with anger, objects, claiming that in fact this is just a trick and he does not intend to give up the artifact. She wonders where to find a spell that surpasses the SS rank ability. Moreover, Muhammad Ali appoints himself as a judge, which means the decision will be subjective. She becomes increasingly outraged, calling it an unfair and annoying challenge that cannot be accepted. After this, she admits that she is terribly jealous of this scoundrel who gets the best artifacts. Despite the discontent of many, the video quickly goes viral and generates a lot of discussion. Many immediately decide to give up, and only the hero, walking through the monster field, suddenly stops and turns on the camera. The wind blows softly, barely stirring the grass, and the little round monsters, sensing something is wrong, rush away in panic. At this moment, Harry raises his hand and creates a huge aura of destructive flame. After a few bright moments, nothing remains of the green field except ashes and scorched earth. Harry looks up at the camera and states that Muhammad Ali's skill amazes him. The video is turning the internet upside down, and people are watching it with their eyes wide open and their mouths hanging open. The display of such extraordinary strength from an ordinary person shocks everyone, and the comments pour in endlessly. Each awakened one, upon receiving power, gains a unique trait that is inherent only to him alone. This feature enhances certain abilities and is reminiscent of game classes from MMORPGs. The possessor of the Dragon's Tongue trait becomes a mage who surpasses the dragons themselves in his magical power. The miracle feature turns its owner into a healer, capable of resurrecting the dead. Regeneration grants the ability to restore even lost limbs and continue fighting in harsh conditions. The Death Strike feature turns the user into a warrior capable of defeating any enemy. But what does the new Master of Skills trait mean that Harry suddenly receives? Before his video goes viral, Harry, left alone, tries to find answers on the internet. He learns that when evaluating unique traits, the first thing to look at is the level, which is higher, the stronger. He watches dozens of videos, reads numerous articles and reports until he realizes that the known levels range from F to SS. Over breakfast, he decides to check his own parameters and orders the status window to appear in front of him. His status window shows that his unique trait has no description and his level is at 1. He has no active abilities, and his skill points, SP, are 0, but are periodically replenished every 24 hours. The first impression is mixed, because all the hero's indicators are at the initial level. Having received the task of copying skills, he understands that he will have to try hard to survive with such characteristics. Harry muses that he should still test a couple of skills just in case so as not to screw up. After some time, an extremely brilliant idea comes to his mind, which definitely needs to be tested. He turns on the video to see the ability being used, and the system gives him all the information. He is also asked if he wants to copy this skill, and Harry realizes that he just hit the jackpot. Thus, it becomes known that it is possible to copy skills even through video if you pay enough attention to it. Muhammad Ali, despite everything, turns out to be a very calm person and reacts normally to losing. His assistant wonders if it was really that important to give the Ring of Elements to an unknown person from the internet. Muhammad Ali replies that this man has been mastering the skill for less than a week, and it is unlikely that anyone can compare to him. The assistant is stubborn and says that there are many other similar skills. Muhammad Ali asks her what if this skill is of the same high rank, but this does not convince the assistant. He grins and declares that he will still count the victory for this man and will send him the Ring of Elements. Turning to the assistant, he offers to give her the card along with the ring while recommending that she maintain her distance. Finally, he advises to say that this is a gift from a person who hopes to become friends one day. Harry, meanwhile, continues to work at the store, noting that the number of views is becoming simply insane. While he's thinking about how famous he's going to be, he completely fails to notice the girl asking about the jelly. The camera didn't capture his face, so he remains incognito, and this gives him confidence and joy. Even if he becomes even stronger, he will never have a greater teaching ability, which means he will be incomparable. After a while, he is interrupted by the stern voice of a man who approaches the cash register. The man angrily asks him why he doesn't answer his daughter, and Harry apologizes for his oversight. After serving 2 customers, he sits down at the table to catch his breath and rest a little. However, he sadly realizes that even despite his victory, he is unlikely to be given this item. However, if a miracle happens, Harry will become the happiest man in this world. Harry briefly entertains the idea that he could become as strong as Muhammad Ali. Smiling, he realizes that just recently he could not even dream of something like this. But now, everything has changed. Having warmed up properly, he hopes that future problems will be solved just as easily. After a while, his phone starts buzzing because he receives a notification from Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali informs him that he accepts the challenge and hands over the elemental ring without any conditions. After some time, he meets Muhammad Ali's secretary named Selena, who makes an appointment. After this, he gets into the car and is told that Mr. Muhammad Ali wants to meet in person. After some time, he finds himself on his own bed, looking at the ring in his hand. His first thought is that it is simply a fake. However, after looking at the specifications, he realizes that they are incredible and it cannot be a fake. Quickly getting out of bed, he realizes that he can't just lie there and decides to go hunting. However, some of the stats related to his physical skills still remain at 1. He needs armor and it costs money, so he has to figure out a way to earn money for equipment. Looking at his social media channel, he realizes that he has not yet verified it and wishes to remain incognito. It's time to think about whether there is another way that will allow you to earn more. After some time, he realizes that there is a very profitable and easy way to make money on his skills. His healing skills are a gold mine, and even one client who comes to him for treatment brings in a mountain of money. After some time, he moves to a very sparse swamp area since other areas are already occupied. Next time, of course, he'll take something with him to help kill time, but for now, he'll have to make do with his phone. He won't be idle for long, as a client in an emergency situation is already on the horizon. Meanwhile, Harry listens to some useless video recordings and realizes that he is safe here. Thoughts that nothing dangerous could happen here disappear as soon as a tall young man approaches him. The man looks at him with a stern gaze, showing with his whole appearance that he needs help. Harry looks up and looks at him with a questioning tone, trying to understand what he needs. The armored knight advises him to prepare and use his skill before it is too late. Harry initially begins to push himself because he is not spoken to in a respectful enough tone. He vividly remembers people who treated him rudely while he was working at the checkout. The first thought is to teach this impudent fellow a lesson and put him in his place, while simultaneously setting boundaries. Harry tries to answer the knight menacingly, but he immediately declares that he will pay 20 million. The hero's powerful and indestructible moral core evaporates as if it had never existed. After some time, he places the patient close to him and examines her carefully. It becomes clear that she is missing an arm, so it needs to be restored somehow. The knight places his severed hand on the girl and orders the protagonist to act as quickly as possible. Harry realizes that he has seen this many times in movies, but he never thought that things worked like this in real life. Looking at his hand with uncertainty, he wonders if his skill will really help. Such doubts do not speed up the treatment process, so he decides to take action. Using the light of healing skill, he gradually fuses tissues and heals wounds. After some time, the hero returns to his house and falls on the bed. He manages to do the impossible, but he will need several more treatment sessions. Looking at his ring, he remembers that girl and tries to understand how she could have received such severe wounds. In any case, such an event gives him hope that his life will finally change for the better. Thanks to the fact that he was paid a considerable portion of his fee in advance, he can finally quit his job. Now that the hero has money, he must think about what to do and where to invest the funds. Attempts to make money through investments, stocks, or cryptocurrency come to mind, but none of this seems reliable. After thinking for a bit, he realizes that he needs to earn SP in order to continue upgrading his skills. Turning to the system, he understands that these points can be spent on improving the level of features. He is given the task of increasing the level of an additional feature, and he decides that it will not be difficult. However, first you need to determine how many ability points he has in order to level up at least a little. The system shows that there are only 70 points left, and he understands that he only needs to idle for 3 days. After this, you will have to make a decisive choice and decide what to focus on. His grandiose thoughts are interrupted by a calm, distinct, and loud knock on the door. It's room service, and Harry is told he needs to open the door right now. Afterwards, he sets himself a buffet and turns on the TV to copy even more skills. The S rank and above skills shown in the video are essentially already losing their relevance. If he copies them now, they will disappear after midnight, so he needs a video recording he can always refer to. Muhammad Al is a rare individual who is open and displays skills at such a high level. The thing is that right now, Harry can only copy skills for a short time, but this may change over time. After finding a playlist with several skills, he decides to organize them so they are at hand. After this, he masters skills based on interactions with his body, such as teleportation. Harry is also careful about his stomach, knowing that he simply won't be able to fit any more food in it, even if he continues to eat. He also registers as a healer in the user association, which means that he cannot be picked on illegally. Harry wonders how much he will be valued given the wide range of magic he possesses. He, like any other young man, becomes interested in what will happen if a couple of gorgeous girls fall in love with him. After some time, one of these beautiful girls appears right in front of him while he is working. She thanks him for his help and looks at him kindly, waiting for a response. In response, Harry says that he doesn't remember who she is, which greatly surprises her. The beautiful girl points to the stern knight and explains that Harry treated them a few days ago. Harry immediately remembers that this is the same girl whose arm was torn off and who had to be raised to her feet for a long time. The girl continues to look at him, and her sincere sympathy suggests that he is the reason she is still alive. Immediately after this, she asks him if he is in a group or guild, but he states that he is a loner. Listening closely, he hears her tell him that this is perfect, as their group needs a temporary healer. Harry knows he should refuse, but the girl asks if he would like to talk to her over a cup of tea. Our hero's moral core evaporates once again, and he immediately agrees to her proposal. Suddenly, the pleasant conversation is interrupted by loud screams coming from somewhere nearby. The knight drags his colleague from the battlefield, saying that he is wounded and needs help to get rid of the status effects. Harry immediately jumps up, realizing that very soon he will receive a lot of money for his work. In 2 leaps, he reaches the wounded man and uses several spells to ease the pain and heal the wounds. Immediately after this, the grateful soldier hands him a small stack of money for his work. After this, he turns to the beautiful girl and states that his level is too low to join the group. The girl asks him not to be discouraged, saying that they are S rank so they can help him pass. Harry just silently starts to gather the money into one pile and also rolls up his rug that he was lying on. After this, he begins to tearfully ask for forgiveness and runs away, ignoring her pleas to stop. He feels incredibly pathetic because he will hardly get the chance to join a group with such a beauty again. He hopes that she will wait until he levels up and can go with her anywhere. After some time, the main day arrives, when the automatic scoring system performs the task for him. Harry is already getting ready, laying out a chaise lounge in his new apartment and pouring himself some soda. At the appointed time, he contacts his system, which congratulates him on receiving additional income. He is asked if he should upgrade his passive income skill to the next level, and he immediately agrees. Now his earnings level increases 5-fold, and he can receive from 10 to 50 SP per day. Of course, there comes a time to check the reward for completing the task to ensure you get additional bonuses. As a reward, the system tells him that he will receive a random unique feature for each copied skill. Any user can use the same skills when reading books, but the set of such skills is always different. The thing is that each user's unique ability is different from others and depends on their talents and predisposition. This is the main weakness of his class, as the copied skills are weaker than the owner's skills. The only exception is the Meteor Rain skill, as it has outstanding power. However, now, thanks to this passive ability, copied skills are just as powerful as the originals. Elements of randomness may balance these advantages, but this still needs to be tested in practice. Harry realizes that it's time to stop selling healing items and go hunting in other areas. The system also gives him a task, according to which he must hunt monsters using the copied skills. Harry feels like someone is watching him from the outside and making up these quests on the fly to make fun of him. In order to ensure his safety, he decides to copy the Fireball training skill. Harry must tread carefully, so he must hedge against any problems that may arise. By using his ability copy skill, he gains the ability to summon a fireball. As a unique ability, he gains the ability to deal continuous damage for a full minute. After some time, he's already heading to a special throwout ranch, which is a hunting area. Harry comes closer and realizes that he is only now at the border between the realm and the real world. Harry buys equipment with the pennies he has, so everything should go well. Thus, he says goodbye to his medical business and his old life and rushes forward to hunt. After some time, the network is filled with comments about the appearance of some psychopath who simply lit up the entire region. Immediately after this, many hunters start asking to be friends with the main character, wanting to have him as company. Harry refuses absolutely every one of them, but the reason why he does this remains a mystery to us for now. Harry is said to have even turned down an S-rank beauty, who, in his dreams, runs away in tears because of his refusal. After this, he continues to read comments that say that this psychopath was smiling while hunting. Harry studies the video of himself and realizes that he has shown his best side. The video also shows a very strange and awkward smile that involuntarily spread across his face. Harry realizes that he did look a bit stupid, so he needs to control himself better next time. He also explains this to himself by saying that he was simply very happy that killing monsters turned out to be easy. Having completed the task, he receives serious rewards, so he does not intend to stop there. Meanwhile, rumors continue to spread about an unrealistic psychopath who destroys a powerful monster. Harry reads the comments about how the equipment helped this man and can't help but agree. Suddenly, a brilliant idea strikes him, and he realizes that he is forgetting to do something. He leans back in his chair, folds his hands in a prayer pose, and decides to pay his respects to Muhammad Ali. To understand how this hunt goes, we go back a few days to when the group begins to fight the bear. The frontline warriors decide to draw the monster's aggression onto themselves, ordering the mages to keep their heads down. Harry receives a notification that he needs to destroy a boss for a very large reward of 500 points. The enemy turns out to be a tough nut to crack and does not give up so easily, despite the serious onslaught of the fighters. However, after some time, a huge fireball flies into his body, causing colossal damage. One can imagine the surprise of the players who fight this monster and do not expect to have such a strong mage. Harry looks proudly at his opponent and continues to shower him with solid portions of fireballs. With a slight movement, he directs them towards the enemy, inflicting more and more damage. Very soon, huge streams of fire knock the monster off its feet, and it even stops moving for a while. Players assume that this is the end of their raid as they finally reach their goal. However, the monster quickly destroys their further plans and makes a terrible, terrifying roar. The system notifies the protagonist that players are encountering the growling shadow bear. The bear enters the attack phase, having previously lowered the stats of all nearby players. Taking advantage of this advantage, the giant monster rushes forward, waving its paws. Only a few fighters, whose strength is at a sufficient level, try to block it. Harry, meanwhile, looks as if he is completely unaffected by such psychological attacks. He looks in surprise at the system notification asking him to copy the boss's skill. This skill reduces the stats of all enemies within a 30-meter radius by several units. Such a serious skill cannot remain without use, so it is definitely necessary to acquire it. Harry quickly copies the skill, also receiving a notification that he can use it without any special restrictions. This skill doesn't even require any mana, which is very useful now considering the situation they are in. The skill will wear off after midnight, so it's best to use it now, and Harry takes off into the air. Meanwhile, the fighters try to understand what is happening to them and how they can get rid of the bear's influence. Harry receives multiple bonuses, increasing his stamina, agility, and magic. After this, he approaches the bear, who looks at him intently. Taking careful aim, he creates another fireball, this time unleashing even more force on the enemy. The rest of the people can only watch in horror at how powerful a mage ends up on their team. Harry successfully completes the mission and is showered with a huge number of system rewards. Harry has never felt anything like this in his life, noting that it feels incredibly exciting. Thus, our valiant hero almost single-handedly defeats the huge demonic bear. The players happily begin to greet Harry, noting that this was just an insanely cool adventure. They also praise his valor and abilities, saying that without him they would hardly have survived. Harry feels a sense of déjà vu, as if he had already experienced something similar, and what is happening seems familiar to him. However, the system interrupts his thoughts, notifying him that the absorption of the monster's soul has been initiated. Harry's strength increases by 1, and he thinks about the boss's blessings he heard about earlier. The boss's level is always at least 10 levels higher than the level of the area itself, making him a formidable opponent. However, some players can close the level gap by bringing a more advanced friend with them. In this case, the enemy's corpse immediately disappears and no one receives any reward. This is why you have to take risks on your own when hunting a boss. But there is only one reason why they are hunted at all. The reason for this is that these bosses drop very good items that you can take for yourself. One of these items is picked up by the user, claiming that he has found a worthy reward. Some items can be sold for hundreds of thousands, and if you add the boss's body to that, then such an enemy is a mountain of gold. Harry is happy that his power is finally increasing to the next level. While he is thinking about what rewards he can get for participating in raids, his comrades approach him. They praise him for his incredible skills, adding that they had already said goodbye to their lives. But he saved them. After some time, the user decides to activate the status window in order to understand what item he is receiving. He is given gloves that only activate when the wearer's health drops below 30%. Harry understands that such a health indicator actually means being on the edge. The friends talk and say that items and byproducts will be distributed through the system. Suddenly, a strange man appears in front of them, who says that he would like to buy the boss's item. Some users are wondering if this is really the person they think it is. These people are called boss item hunters, who buy absolutely everything for cash. Harry realizes that in this world, everyone makes a living differently. However, this man arouses his interest, and he tries to understand who he is and what he is doing here. The guard opens a suitcase filled with bills and says that they can pay right now. Harry looks at these riches in shock and realizes that he will have to give it his all on the next hunt. Some time passes, and he finds himself in the same place where he used to sell healing abilities. He asks himself, what is the point of earning money if it is less than 10 million, given the current prices for equipment? He recalls his unfortunate visit to a store where he was presented with medium armor at a huge price. Harry understands that he simply won't be able to earn enough money to buy such sets of clothes unless he has fabulous wealth. The store employee politely informs him that there are only 2 sets left in stock. Harry says that he will be back very soon, and the girl wishes him luck, stating that she believes in him. Harry realizes that if he could retain this skill, he could continue to enjoy hunting. Thanks to the reward from the training quest, he can now copy boss's skills, which helps him. However, now he looks around and realizes that he has very few clients and a lull is coming. This means that you can now spend your accumulated status points with pleasure. Now he gets the opportunity to improve his physical characteristics and be an amazing swordsman. However, this is not a game where he has multiple lives, so he needs to act more wisely now. Given the capabilities he currently has, he needs to invest in enhancing his magical potential. Thanks to the skills he has acquired, he now has the opportunity to try to copy a skill even twice. He also unlocks daily quests, but he's more interested in what happens if he copies the same skill twice. To test out his new abilities, he quickly opens a video on healing skills. He immediately gets a very unique feature, but decides not to stop there and copy it again. He is offered to rewrite an already copied skill, changing it to a new one, and he decides to agree. The possibilities that now open up before him seem incredible to him, and he freezes in amazement. After some time, he puts up a sign that says he sells a cure that increases experience. People passing by are surprised, as they have never seen such an enhancement before. Harry decides to get their attention and loudly announces that he is selling a plus 5% experience buff that lasts for 5 hours. He also clarifies that this is an extremely limited offer, so you need to hurry. People gradually come closer to him, thinking that they had never heard of the possibility of increasing experience before. They wonder what will happen if this person simply deceives them, takes the money, and runs away. Harry mentally begs them not to doubt, as he doesn't have much time before the copy expires. After a while, an experienced user approaches him, who instantly silences everyone else. The girl takes off her hood and greets him again, asking if he would like to hunt with them. Harry realizes that this girl's aura is so strong that he can't even calmly be around her. However, he decides to refuse, saying that he is working right now and does not have much time. Smiling, the girl asks him if he is aware that he hasn't even accepted his first client yet. After this, she declares that she and her brother will use his treatment services. Harry immediately becomes even more polite and asks them to move on so that he can help them. After a while, he will use the Light of Healing skill to increase the party's experience by 5%. After that, she hands him her business card and informs him that their team needs a professional healer. After that, they turn around and she confirms to everyone else that these buffs actually work. Harry is immediately inundated with requests from other users who want to gain at least a small advantage. Harry looks after a girl named Hillary and thanks her for just making him rich. Meanwhile, Hillary and her brother Frank are walking through the park, clearly unhappy with their failure to recruit the healer. Frank asks his sister why she called him a wimp if she continues to run after the new guy. Hillary says that she is the one on their team who gets seriously injured during sorties. Frank is a solid tank, so they have good balance, but there is a huge downside. Healers won't be able to last long because they need to play flawlessly. Hillary says there is a high probability that this person has amazing talent, even though he is a newcomer. Hillary says it's even better this way since others haven't seen his potential yet. Having reached a fairly decent group of enemies, she uses the Ember Storm skill. Within moments, the enemies who were directly in front of her are reduced to a mere pile of ash. Frank realizes that it's better not to mess with his sister and decides not to object since it's pointless anyway. Hillary says that such a player could one day become a powerful ranker. Harry, meanwhile, leaves the store, thinking that this is what he works so hard for. He also understands that passive income will be much better than earned income because then you don't have to do anything. Turning to his skills, he decides to increase his level in order to get even more points every day. Now he gets 200 SP every day, which is real cheating. Harry is happy that now he doesn't have to do anything to level up. However, after some time, he looks at the system indicators and realizes that the progression in skills is geometric. This means that at first he will spend a small amount of points, but very soon he will have to work very seriously. People who watch him wonder why he constantly talks to himself. Meanwhile, Harry continues to analyze the possibilities of obtaining SP and understands that he will still have to work hard. Harry also realizes that he needs to go on another raid in order to play the Hidden Master again. Unfortunately, the area he is heading to is located in the middle of a mud flat and is quite muddy. Harry realizes that in such a landscape, melee warriors and tanks will be very limited in their capabilities. Harry realizes that the place he was in before was quite clean and pleasant, and so it is not surprising that newcomers go there. However, you can't sit in the nursery forever, as there are strict limits on the levels of areas. However, he decides that the raid on the Shadow Bear is going quite well, so there won't be any problems here either. While still looking quite proud, he nevertheless realizes that he would like to get home. Meanwhile, the people around him begin to discuss something vividly and laugh. Harry wonders if he came to raid or observe a group date. He also realizes that he has made a bad decision in changing his name, and now some people think he is a woman. Harry realizes that these people decided to arrange a date under the pretext of a raid in order to have a heart-to-heart talk. This also means that at least one person will not be paired in this very strange mess. The supposed leader of this detachment says that since they have gathered, they need to start a discussion. Harry realizes that apparently everything will not end so simply, since this handsome man is clearly up to something. The white-haired knight says that some have already become familiar with the strategy, but just in case, he will repeat it. The boss of this bay is a crab that gets stronger each time and relaxes the enemy. With each use of this debuff, he becomes stronger and at a certain point can use his ultimate skill. Harry muses that if this crab gets stronger after being debuffed, then that's what makes it special. Things are getting more and more interesting, and the raid may turn out to be much more exciting than Harry initially thinks. After a while, the ground begins to shake and the enemy reveals himself in order to attack the others. Nevertheless, the fighters fight this monster for quite a long time, receiving more and more damage. Harry watches them in surprise and realizes that they are busy breaking up the predatory shells. Of course, small creatures cannot respond to big people in any way, and all they can do is die. The leader of the group states that he is a veteran of these raids and will make sure to protect everyone when the boss appears. As soon as he utters this thought, fate decides to punish him by the appearance of a truly serious monster. Upon seeing him, he immediately takes a few steps back, showing that he was actually just bluffing. Some people say that the crab usually appears only after a certain number of corpses have accumulated. After aiming properly, the archers destroy several more enemies in order to increase the chance of summoning. Harry looks at the results and realizes that these creatures really don't stand a chance against them. Now he begins to understand why these people acted so arrogantly while in this area. However, after some time, their arrogance and skills will be tested. The ground begins to shake violently, signaling the arrival of a giant creature that is clearly not in a positive mood. After some time, the very same horror appears before them, capable of tearing apart giant monsters with its claws. Harry learns the crab's unique ability to become stronger when debuffed. Harry feels that such an enhancement would be very useful if he could borrow it for some time. After a while, the brave fighters realize that they need to change tactics, as the crab suddenly changes direction. Harry muses that if a skill's description doesn't include conditions or duration, then it's always active. His eyes light up as this opens up even more opportunities for him to level up. Suddenly, the lead tank is behind everyone and gives him obvious advice on how to avoid taking damage. Harry remembers his instructions about the crab constantly weakening itself and realizes that this is complete nonsense. Harry realizes that according to the logic that works with his ability, the crab will become infinitely stronger. However, simple physical damage can still cause enough damage to kill the monster. Harry is trying to figure out how to take down this monstrous shelled crab without inflicting any debuffs on it. Meanwhile, the tank warms up and declares that it is finally its turn to deliver a crushing blow. He turns to his ally, asking for strength. She replies that she has put all her love into him. Harry hopes that the role-playing between these two people will not cross all boundaries. Meanwhile, the main tank gets a truly amazing buff that others can only dream of. Harry looks at these numbers in surprise, trying to understand how such a powerful buffer could have been hiding here all this time. Meanwhile, the team leader, who loves to show off his tongue, continues to show himself off to the others. Some time ago, Harry was confronted by a store employee who asked if he was broadcasting. Harry assumes that she recognized him and begins to deny it, claiming that he has never heard of anything like that. The girl notes that she heard that he is quite popular and uploads videos of his walks around the regions to social networks. She then offers him cutting-edge filming technology built into the glasses he purchases. This allows him to record actions and the use of interesting skills and review them later. However, he still doesn't understand what such an amazing support player is doing in this area. The commander finally decides it's time to act and says he'll get attention. Harry throws fireballs forward to finish off the giant crab. Harry doesn't particularly want to waste this moment of strength on the battle in the lake, but still decides to take the main prize for himself. In the end, he holds his main skill in his hands just for this moment to show off his coolness. Using his blasting abilities, he instantly takes out the boss, leaving the others with a pleasant smell. They understand that this is the smell of cooked rice in a crab shell, on top of which lies meat with a claw. The captain, who fails to land a single blow on the enemy, realizes that he has just been made to look like a loser. However, he decides not to give up and rushes forward, claiming that the monster may still be alive. Reaching the apparently dead monster, he lands a few hits to make sure his team is safe. The support player claims that she has never seen a more amazing commander, but others do not share her opinion. Harry realizes that this commander was quite pathetic, but after a while he receives an interesting notification. The system informs him that he has received the resistance modification skill, which means it is time to go home. However, he has to stay for a while to answer some questions from his comrades. They thank him for intervening in time and deciding the outcome of this battle in an instant. They offer him a reliable allied partnership while the captain tries to recover. Finally, he looks at his only ally, hoping that she will remain faithful to him. However, the girl acts fairly and states that the magician should receive his share for having made a significant contribution. Quite quickly, players come to the conclusion that they can give all the rewards they receive to Harry. However, all this time, an unknown man is watching this noisy crowd who does not say a word. Sometime later, he contacts his boss and reports that the boss did not drop any items in this raid. They tell him over the radio that he needs to move on to the next place, and he calmly turns around and leaves. Meanwhile, the support player starts to act a little strange, looking around and staring at the dark sky. She notices something strange appearing in the sky and freezes in place, as if hypnotized by this phenomenon. After some time, Harry destroys another enemy with a powerful wave of fire from his hands. After completing his daily task and receiving his reward, he falls to the ground, trying to catch his breath from fatigue. He reflects on the fact that he has already spent a lot of time and wants to know how much more time he has left before leveling up. It is given a radiation power effect and a resistance change to make it easier for it to recover. A small problem arises as it wastes all its copy attempts and cannot apply anything. The only solution in this case is to increase your level, but to do this you have to continue working. It's not that easy to gain skills from daily quests, but he thinks he can get a quest with a generous reward. After thinking about this idea for a while, he realizes that it is complete nonsense and that he is doing something stupid. However, after a while, he quickly gets back on his feet, receiving another system notification. The notification states that he must complete the main quest and receive a reward, a whopping 4,000 SP. While looking at the system notification, he suddenly notices a strange celestial body approaching him. Other people in the cities are also surprised by the huge piece of land that has risen into the sky. Harry receives a notification that he is in a special F-rank area, which allows players from level 1 to 39. The hero's main task is to clear this area of enemy presence. Sometime later, breaking news reports the appearance of a massive new area above the city. Due to the danger of the Sky Island, flights to nearby airports are cancelled for a certain period. Some awakened ones argue that the authorities need to speed up the sanctioning of portal passages. The news reports that, according to eyewitness reports, new areas are appearing simultaneously in different places around the world. It all starts in Japan, but overnight an area half the size of South Korea is secured near Tokyo. Ordinary citizens are wondering what to do since such a large danger zone clearly poses a threat. Harry realizes that this is a special area, and level 70 monsters are roaming in streams, destroying everything in their path. More informed citizens realize that their country is on the brink of destruction because of what happened. A man tells his partners that, judging by the situation in other countries, special areas are extremely dangerous. This man turns out to be the head of a user association that is actively supported by the government. He states that they plan to develop a strategy to clear the Sky Island and offer a generous reward. Harry takes out his earpiece just as the reward is being discussed and realizes that he is about to participate. Once inside the building, he wonders if he can get SP in advance, but is told no. After counting all the rewards for his level, he realizes that it is definitely worth the effort. After some time, a well-known employee approaches him and thanks him for waiting. She hands him a small piece of equipment, which in total is worth a whopping 70 million. These accessories turn out to be a round ring of mana and a bracelet that significantly increases magic in exchange for dexterity. If Harry collects a full set, his mana supply increases by 400 units, which becomes ideal conditions. Even if his stats drop a little, he still feels better if he focuses on magic. An alarming thought immediately creeps into his head about how much he will have to spend to buy armor. With a sly smile, he asks the store employee how much a set of C or D rank armor is worth. The girl tells him with a sincere smile that he will have to pay 400 million won for a set of armor. The voice of reason immediately sounds in the hero's head, and he decides that he will only buy accessories. After some time, he and other users approach a place that resembles the entrance to the area. Wearing glasses in this case turns out to be inconvenient, so he buys a camera with the remaining money. Perhaps he should have bought it in the first place, but he can't shake the feeling that he's been robbed again. Before entering the area, he decides to check the reviews about this zone that other users have left. Unfortunately, he understands that these reviews do not contain anything good, but he still has no choice. He assumes that all this was written by losers and that it is unlikely that everything is so bad, which means that he needs to go. After completing the teleportation, he suddenly finds himself in beautiful meadows, filled with good-natured creatures. Harry's eyes widen in surprise, and he thinks that this place is pretty cool, and he would never have thought that this place could be so dangerous. Even the monsters that are here turn out to be friendly and don't attack from the start, as if you could have a picnic here. However, after some time, his thoughts about beauty are interrupted by the shrill cries of an unfortunate man. He notices a user being captured by a huge griffin trying to carry him to its nest. Harry realizes that he can only rely on his fireballs to protect himself from the flock of griffins. After a while, it turns out that all these griffins are surrounding him only because they are choosing someone else as their target. Taking a closer look, he realizes that it is Hillary and Frank, who are successfully repelling attacks by birds of prey. Frank creates a powerful energy barrier to protect his sister from attacks. Despite the high level of this area, parrying the attacks of these giant birds with their sharp claws proves to be extremely difficult. Immediately after this, Hillary releases a curtain of fire in front of her to fry her opponents. Harry watches this procedure with surprise and horror, realizing that she really is a powerful fire mage. He thought she was a strong user before, but he doesn't suspect that she is so powerful. Hillary, meanwhile, warms up and admits that so far everything is going quite easily. Harry muses that he has only copied the fireball skill before, but perhaps he should borrow that ability as well. Meanwhile, a small slug appears behind him and slowly approaches him. Hillary complains to her brother that if they had a healer with them, she would not have gotten seriously injured. She admits that the more she thinks about it, the more she regrets that she was unable to recruit him. However, after a few moments, she notices Harry trying to brush off the friendly slug. There is an awkward pause between them, as neither of them would want to be caught like this. Hillary, Harry, and Frank stare at each other for a moment without saying a word. The initial silence is broken by Hillary, who remarks that this is a very pleasant surprise and suggests that Harry is busy. Harry smiles awkwardly in response, thinking that he could use some help getting rid of the slime. After some time, Frank frees Harry from the pushy slime, who is very sad about it. Harry, meanwhile, looks at his shoes in horror, lamenting how much money he spent on them. Frank glances nervously at his sister, wondering if she's going to try to recruit Harry into the team again. Looking at her beaming face and wide smile, he realizes that his worst fears have been completely justified. Hillary approaches Harry and happily remarks that they have met again in such a good environment. She states that fate itself is pushing them to unite and become powerful allies to each other. Harry looks at her fearfully and wonders if she will be able to let go of his hand for at least a little while. Hillary smiles and says that today she will get him to the right place, whether he wants it or not. Harry realizes that he has no choice in the matter and will have to copy the healing skills. However, in order to copy these skills, he will have to do the unthinkable. With the most confident face he can muster, he announces that he needs to go to the toilet. They ask if he's already there or if he needs to go right there, which makes him realize how stupid that sounds. After Harry publicly disgraces himself, they still decide to go griffin hunting. This time, the griffins bring with them huge boulders to drop like bombs. Frank doesn't let his team down and continues to create a powerful energy barrier that blocks damage. Harry realizes that if he came closer, they would destroy him with their ingenuity. However, new enemies appear in front of him, which he needs to deal with as quickly as possible because they are running to ram him. Harry prepares to create a fireball to deal with these enemies while protecting his team. However, his zeal is interrupted by Hillary's quick and confident movements. Finally, she just turns to him and winks, letting him know that he is safe here. Immediately after, she creates a powerful fire rain skill to deal with her opponents. Hillary combines several abilities: fire rain and fire spears, striking enemies completely. Afterwards, she notices with a smile that the battlefield has been cleared. Frank scolds his sister for running forward again and getting hit, but she just laughs it off. Harry, realizing that he has no chance to prove himself, asks why S-rank users always have so many skills. Hillary confirms that this is true, and Harry realizes with horror that X-rank users have even greater potential. She adds that most of the skills she learned from books. Harry realizes that it's all about money, and if he wants to level up, he'll have to earn some too. After some time, a huge mutant, which had been hiding in ambush all this time, jumps out of the water. Frank and Hillary rush to attack, while the protagonist watches them sadly, preparing to create a fireball. After a while, he releases a powerful fireball charge to instantly destroy the enemy. Hillary and Frank turn to look at Harry in surprise, not expecting him to have such skills. The thing is that usually the fireballs that mages use are much smaller in size. Harry himself does not understand how he managed to do this, and tries to understand why the fireball turned out to be so huge. Hillary demands that Harry honestly admit whether he is a healer or has been pretending all this time. Harry tries to justify himself by noting that defensive skills are still necessary to level up. Hillary looks at him with disbelief and wonders how much mana he has if he can afford that. Harry looks at Frank and realizes that he must remain calm now so as not to attract unnecessary attention. He also discovers that there are other users here, so he realizes he needs to be doubly careful. Users who come here deal with limes, which are not serious opponents. They wonder how much longer they have to deal with this nonsense. His comrade informs him that he should not relax and should watch out for the appearance of flying monsters. A carefree colleague declares that he is keeping an eye on them and has not come all this way to crush weaklings. Immediately after this, he is advised to fight a large monster and test his strength in practice. Meanwhile, the system notifies all users that the number of dead life forms has exceeded the required threshold. This leads to the Lord of the Celestial Island awakening and deciding to reveal himself to the world. One of the users looks up at the sky in surprise and tells his comrades that something has appeared there. Looking at the huge figure, they are left confused, not understanding whether the creature is fighting alone. The giant monster gradually approaches them, without saying a single word, as if preparing for something serious. After a few moments, he raises his arms forward and creates a huge number of deadly projectiles. Harry receives a notification that a skill called Heavenly Sword is about to be unleashed upon them. Frank barely manages to raise his shield in time to protect his comrades from the deadly projectiles. A barrier immediately forms around the main tank, but this time it will have a hard time, not to mention other users who were left completely defenseless against this attack. Frank drops to one knee and a worried Hillary asks him if everything is okay. Frank reports that he has received a debuff that has significantly reduced his health, strength, and defense. Harry realizes that this weakening will last for 10 minutes and tries to heal his comrade. The situation escalates quite quickly, and our hero realizes that he needs to prove himself. The giant monster named Kanel has a giant level of 59 and the corresponding stats. Harry realizes that this opponent is far more serious than any they have ever faced. Concentrating, he advises his comrades to leave the area as quickly as possible. After some time, Harry decides to open the internet to find out more about what happened. Users report that the creature threw blades in all directions and then simply disappeared. They also uploaded a video of the monster appearing out of nowhere. The video shows unsuspecting users looking at the boss in surprise before the connection is cut off. After some time, the connection is restored, and it clearly shows the monster raising his hand. Immediately after this, users are hit by heavenly punishment, which initially feels like simple rain. This rain is impossible to dodge, but its effects manifest quite quickly. Users look at their weapons and realize that they feel very weak. Mass debuffs are applied to everyone affected by the rain, but slimes receive a completely different effect. After some time, they begin to aggressively mutate and turn into giant insects. These insects immediately pounce on weakened users to finish them off. At this point, the video stops, and Harry realizes that they miraculously managed to escape certain death. Harry realizes that the creature has the ability to empower monsters, meaning that running away was the right decision. In the game, he would have extra lives, but now it's a reality, so you have to be careful. His thoughts are interrupted by a sharp ringing of the telephone, which frightens him to the depths of his soul. Picking up the phone, he realizes that all this time it was Hillary who had been calling him, and it was unknown when she had gotten his number. She asks if he has returned to Sky Island, and he replies that he has not been there yet. He admits that he will have to drop in there anyway, as some problems have arisen. Hillary reports that monsters are descending from this island and attacking peaceful people, and a large raid has been formed. She asks if he wants to join the raid to destroy the monsters once and for all. A few days later, he is transported to the large Siushski Park, where he previously worked as a healer. Quite a few high-ranking users have gathered here to try their luck and fight the monsters. Newbies wonder why such high ranks came to the low-level area. Areas of this rank are not even a warm-up for them, but the main character needs to somehow get into the group. He realizes that he looks quite weak, so he will have to put in a lot of effort. He even wears special clothes that are different from what he wore before, so as not to stand out. His despondency is interrupted by the familiar, perky voice of Hillary, who waves at him. Harry is glad that he has finally met at least someone he knows and can trust with his life. He recalls that the mission conditions stated that he must have at least a B rank, but he only has an F rank. Hillary laughs and reports that he used much more serious skills and everything went without a hitch. They also wonder where the leader of this raid went because he should have arrived by now. After some time, a figure in knightly armor approaches a group of players, and they realize that he is the boss here. Hillary points to his lieutenant's badge, indicating that the leader has finally arrived, and Harry stares at the man in surprise. The leader turns out to be a member of the Daehan Guild, a warrior of almost the highest rank named Henry. Henry advises that before discussing the destruction of the boss, each participant's abilities need to be tested. He suggests starting the warm-up right away so as not to waste time. Hillary happily agrees to this initiative and offers to take revenge on the monster. Harry understands that this man is giving orders rudely, but no one objects to him. He realizes that in front of him is the strongest man he has ever seen. After a while, they enter a small area where the normal lizards rush to attack. Harry watches in amazement and delight as Henry cuts down his opponents one by one. He understands that Henry's character may be difficult, but he fights like a true warrior. He tries to restrain himself, realizing that swinging a sword with such characteristics is suicide. With his low base stats, he barely survives using only his elemental ring, which gives him a serious boost. Taking the path of magic is the best choice since he has never held a sword in his hands. But these movements seem familiar to him. However, he decides to suppress this desire until he finds a way to increase his stats. Close combat is too dangerous, so ranged magic is a better solution in this case. A fragment of his personality from his past life smiles and wonders if he will really make such a choice. Henry, meanwhile, continues to fight, destroying one enemy after another. Within moments, only a few pitiful individuals remain from the vast group of opponents. Harry feels his past self telling him that it would be a shame to hide and not use his skills. After a while, this entity disappears, and Harry watches Henry closely. The system notifies him that Henry has a bloody combat skill that can be copied. This skill greatly increases defense and physical characteristics. The situation becomes more tense as a boss from a small area decides to enter the arena. This boss turns out to be a poisonous king lizard, a slightly larger version of the normal lizard. However, this does not mean that he is weak, so other users decide to be on guard. Henry decides to use the limit break skill to further increase his stats. In this way, he counterattacks his opponent before he can swing and defeats him. Frank looks around and reports that clearing this area was fairly easy. Hillary, speaking about how she destroyed almost everyone, only smiles, confirming that everything was exactly like that. Harry asks her if it is really possible to get rewards without participating in the raid directly, but only by dealing damage. Hillary explains that normally if you don't contribute, you get nothing, but Harry kept putting up the buff. Harry realizes that he thought healers were the easiest class possible. Henry, meanwhile, says that he will conduct final briefings before distributing the awards. He begins to read out a very long speech that doesn't really make much sense and is poorly retained in Harry's memory. Harry continues to listen to this logical and well-structured nonsense with a smart look. After some time, he gains the catalyst skill, but he is most interested in something else. This means that he can copy Henry's skills and now has two at once. Henry turns to the healer, and Harry asks him in surprise what he needs to do. A few days later, there is only one day left before the official start of the raid on Sky Island. But Harry still does not rest. To analyze his capabilities, he turns to the system notification and finds out that he has 4,000 SP. He completed a large number of daily quests to at least level up a little, but all to no avail. Harry doesn't have time to rest because he's been very lucky with consecutive low-ranking missions. However, he decides that there is no reason to be sad and calls up another system window. He decides to spend all his accumulated points to upgrade his copying ability to the next level. He originally wanted to invest points into his physical attributes, but now there is little need for that. However, he still doesn't know that if the skills he copied had another attack skill, certainly in that case, a synergy would be created that would significantly surpass the original. Harry comes to the conclusion that being able to copy 4 skills at once is something worth striving for. However, this is currently impossible for him, as he is limited to only 3 skills. As a testing ground, he chooses a small experience where there is a rather formidable boss. Harry shows off his signature smile and creates a small fireball to deal with him. After some time, a discussion arises among internet users about the return of that same psychopath. Someone posted a video of the Snake Mountains area being completely destroyed by small fire attacks. The video clearly shows other users trying to fight a boss that is clearly above their level. Harry himself is also caught on video running up to the giant snake to attack it. The snake perceives him as easy prey and develops its giant mouth with sharp teeth. However, Harry creates the most gigantic fireball possible and deals massive damage. Immediately after this internet legend decides to reach the operator at incredible speed. Luckily for the cameraman, Harry is just using escape tactics and running away from something menacing. Unfortunately for the cameraman, what Harry was running from turns out to be a huge snake that did not die after his powerful blow. Harry manages to break the distance in time and uses another fireball, hitting the snake right in the head. This is not enough, and the snake continues to run from side to side for some time, trying to defeat him. Users who watch this undoubtedly amazing battle are starting to feel uneasy. Meanwhile, we are transported to the real world, where an expensive car stops near an equally expensive mansion. Selena opens the car doors and announces that the area inspection schedule is complete. She informs Muhammad Alu that he has 1 hour and 24 minutes to spare before the next area. Meanwhile, Muhammad Al is happily studying the news that a famous psychopath has destroyed the Snake Mountains. Selena asks him if he's really interested in this psychopath that the entire internet is talking about right now. Muhammad Al laughs and says that it was he who gave Harry the ring that made him so famous. Selena wonders why he is so sure that this person is Harry. Muhammad Al explains that some time has passed since the day he gave Harry the elemental ring. The ring does not affect agility or stamina, but Harry dodges all attacks with small movements. It looks like the young man has a lot of combat experience and knows exactly what he's doing. Muhammad Al also asks his assistant about how things are going with the Raiders Guild. Selena reports that her worst fears have been confirmed, and Muhammad Al asks her to continue to keep an eye on them and Harry. Immediately after this, he resolutely and confidently heads towards his mansion. Harry's exploits quickly attract unwanted attention, including from some not-so-honest and decent people. An unknown young man in a white suit watches Harry through the monitors, and a nasty smile crosses his face. Harry soon discovers a video of his exploits, despite the fact that he had no intention of becoming a star. The thing is, he received very little reward for defeating the boss despite having done all the work. He complains about others using him, but then realizes he should have posted the video himself. From his point of view, if he verifies his channel, the views on it will skyrocket and he will become rich. A little out of his fantasy, he realizes that he needs to collect quite a few items before the raid begins. This time he was given a high-level task, despite the fact that previously they had given less difficult ones. Harry thinks that if he had known how it would all end, he wouldn't have wasted his time. Now he needs to gather absolutely everything he needs before his skills disappear. He finds a small sphere, which is most likely the subject of the quest. Harry picks up the mysterious ball, and the system tells him that he has collected one of 10 essences of a special area. Harry is surprised that this essence does not drop from monsters, and realizes that he now needs to explore the field. Of course, this is not the most fun activity, since the essence can be hidden absolutely anywhere. Harry swears that if the task had been of low rank, he would have already left and forgotten about the matter. Meanwhile, the Griffins discover Harry and decide to immediately pounce on him. Harry somehow manages to react in time, dodges and causes the Griffins to crash into the ground. Once he comes to his senses, he wonders how he managed to dodge so perfectly. He realizes that his body moved before he even realized it, and assumes that it might be a result of the skill. However, now is not the best time to think about it, since there are monsters to deal with. With a flick of his hand, he creates a powerful fireball to burn the Griffins right where they stand. Suspicious people notice that someone is still hunting at this hour without worrying about their lives. The leader turns to his minions, wondering what about the island they are going to raid. He also says that if they kill the boss of these lands first, Henry will leave empty-handed. His minions ask what will happen if other users go on a raid with him. Smiling wickedly, he replies that he will simply kill anyone who gets in his way. Harry, meanwhile, relishes the ease with which he destroyed the monsters in these parts. Finding the essence turns out to be much easier than he initially thought, and now he'll definitely be able to collect everything before midnight. There's only one reward left, and you can go home with peace of mind to lock in your profits. However, a powerful explosion is heard behind him, causing him to immediately turn around, trying to understand what is happening. It turns out that the boss of this region has already been attacked by a group of users. Harry tries to remember who exactly was going to go on the raid tomorrow morning that day. The group of masked users have some difficulty in fighting this enemy. Harry realizes that he needs to do something urgently, because at this rate the boss could be stolen from them. It is obviously too late to call anyone for help, but perhaps there is some way out. After carefully studying the task, he realizes that it does not indicate how long it takes to fight the boss. Basically, all the protagonist needs to do is deliver the finishing blow to get the reward. Meanwhile, the fighters fire at the Great Angel's wings to make him fall down. Having received damage that makes it impossible to stay in the air, the angel falls like a stone to the delight of the crowd. They rush forward in the hope of finishing him off quickly, but their joy turns out to be premature. Harry continues to remain at a safe distance, watching with interest how the monster behaves. The system informs that if Kaynell's health drops low, his wings will become vulnerable and his attacks will become stronger. The boss's third phase begins, in which he grabs 2 giant blades to destroy nearby enemies. He also creates a powerful protective barrier around himself to absorb all damage that is poured into him. Harry rubs his eyes, realizing that the explosion has created a huge amount of dust and made it difficult to see. After a while, he slowly gets to his feet and notices that the task will be much easier than he thought. Kaynell, meanwhile, enters Berserk mode and begins to crush any users who come too close. Harry watches the users fly into the air and realizes that the victory was declared prematurely for a reason. He tries to figure out why these users are flying apart as they fall to the ground. 2 masked users ask each other if they are okay to find out who is safe. One of them turns to the third magician and asks him who else he is. A little later, they realize that their comrade was completely disoriented and did not understand where he was. Looking at Harry, who is holding one of the masks, they ask if he has forgotten the rules. Harry looks at them with genuine confusion, but they tell him to stand up straight and keep his mask on. They also order him to hurry up so that he can complete everything on time. Harry understands that since things have come to this, he needs to play along with these people and put on a mask, pretending to be one of them. He doesn't understand who the man was whose mask came off, but he is grateful to him for the fact that they wore the same clothes. The leader of the group of hunters rushes forward to fight the main boss of the location. His attacks are strong, but after a while, a powerful blue fireball flies at the boss. The fighters retreat, trying to understand where the shell just came from, turning their heads from side to side. The pure damage player is about to collect the bounty, and Harry realizes he's screwed. Thanks to the new characteristics, he becomes too powerful, but at the same time, he cannot help but attack the boss. If it hadn't been such a long fight, he would have been exposed, but now he has a unique opportunity. He also realizes that shooting at the boss's huge sponge for damage gives him a lot of pleasure. At this rate, he can simply wait out the required time and take all the rewards from this boss. Meanwhile, the boss is about to activate another ability, summoning many monsters to his side. Griffins soar through the portal into the sky, looking around predatorily in search of new prey. Giant mutated rhinos act as ground support. Some players who came here because of this guild's deception are wondering what is going on here. They realize that it was a raid, and the guild is blatantly violating the agreement they made. The guild leader understands that these scoundrels are beginning to guess what is happening, so some measures must be taken urgently. Of course, nothing better comes to his mind than to kill all the witnesses who are here. He says that if Henry finds out about this, they will be in big trouble, so they can't leave any witnesses. He orders all his fighters to immediately deal with the outsiders, who are no longer of use to them. Harry realizes that he is in the middle of a real massacre, one he would not like to take part in. One of the villains approaches the defenseless user to finish him off with one powerful blow. However, he fails to do this, as Henry, Hillary, and Frank take the side of the unfortunate man. Henry looks at his opponents with a look filled with hatred, and Harry realizes that he is already a corpse. The masked guild leader wonders what the losers who aren't part of the group are doing here. Henry, enraged, declares that for what they have done, they should be executed on the spot. Immediately after this, he desperately rushes forward to cut down all the villains in his path. Harry hesitates, and his temporary companion pushes him aside to get out of the way. Harry is trying to figure out what to do in this situation and which side to choose. Of course, the monsters don't care at all about human strife, and they continue to attack. Harry is clear that if someone else deals the finishing blow, they will get nothing. Complete chaos ensues, with people fighting monsters and other people. Harry knows he needs to kill this boss quickly to end the war, but he doesn't have enough damage. He tries to figure out if there is another way to deal with this difficult task. Henry, meanwhile, destroys everything in his path, with the aim of punishing the villains who profit from the suffering of others. Harry turns around to see flashes of fire appearing next to him. Hillary fights monsters while being protected by the skills of her allies. A killer with a knife appears behind her, but immediately receives a powerful fireball right in the face. Hillary turns around in surprise and looks at the opposing mage, who suddenly changed sides. Frank asks her what happened, to which the girl explains that the magician is acting strangely. She reveals that he only attacked his team to save them from serious harm. Harry, meanwhile, is under attack from all sides and hopes that he has enough strength. He only needs to wait 2 minutes for this fight to finally end. He starts to run away quickly so as not to receive unnecessary damage before a certain moment. After some time, it is midnight and he can now use the skill copy. He instantly looks at Henry, who is smashing monsters and people left and right. Without thinking twice, he initiates the copying procedure to adopt these skills. After some time, he throws a fireball to destroy a huge bunch of monsters at once. Harry receives a system notification that his skill effect has been increased by 2%. Henry, enraged, turns towards her opponent and clicks his tongue loudly, indicating that he doesn't have time. Harry muses that if the monsters keep appearing, no one will leave here alive. Meanwhile, Harry becomes a real monster in human form and instills fear in everyone. His abilities increase his skills by a few percent each time, giving him the ability to finish off the boss in an instant. After a while, he unleashes all his fiery might on the monsters to force them to their knees. Other users quickly turn around at the loud noise and are surprised that the boss they thought was defeated. Harry realizes that it is too early to rejoice, since the boss shows no signs of death. His absolutely nondescript and indifferent face nevertheless continues to look around. After a while, he gets back on his feet, and it's time for the final phase of the creature. As it rises into the air, it prepares to fall down, creating a powerful explosion. Once this happens, everyone in the immediate vicinity is hit with a powerful blow. There is no chance that those who did not manage to escape in time will remain alive after contact with the shockwave. Harry, however, tries to at least somehow protect himself and covers his body with his hands. It seemed like a little more and he would be finished. But suddenly Frank appeared in front of him, creating another barrier. Harry stares at his comrade in surprise as his mask slowly begins to disintegrate. Frank, who most likely found out who is hiding behind the mask, says that now he owes him. After a while, The powerful pulsating explosion suddenly dies down, and the boss of this location looks around. One can only imagine his surprise when he discovers that some of the fighters have taken refuge under protective barriers. Harry also remains unharmed, despite his mask being significantly damaged. After some time, the mask is completely destroyed, but by this time he creates a huge fireball in his hands. After that, he directs it towards the enemy, leaving him no chance of survival. This explosion creates a huge cloud of dust, and everyone else loses sight of the boss, trying to figure out where he is. However, as the dust gradually clears, they see that the boss has been struck down by a powerful blow and is now finally dead. It drops a huge amount of trophies, as well as a unique reward for the one who deals the final blow. After a while, Henry and the leader of the Robbers Guild exchange glances. Henry sternly informs them that if they want to leave here alive, they must leave this place immediately. The guild leader realizes that he cannot withstand direct confrontation and declares that their mage was the most useful. He realizes that he needs to quickly defeat this bastard and clear the boss before the other players arrive. Harry, meanwhile, receives a notification that he has completed the main quest and will be teleported in 10 seconds. Meanwhile, the guild leader looks at him, thinking that he seems suspiciously familiar to him. Without thinking twice, he rushes forward to take the main reward left by this boss. Henry tries to stop him by rushing forward and declaring that this idiot needs to stop immediately. Harry proudly states that everyone saw that he was the one who killed the last boss and delivered the finishing blow. The leader of the Robbers Guild understands that this man, judging by his manner of speech, is that very psychopath. Harry smiles proudly, declaring that this now belongs to him and no one else. Both leaders rush to attack, while Harry begins to dissolve into thin air, praising them for their participation. Henry claims that this damn pathologist is trying to deceive everyone. The leader of the Bandit Guild, angry, lowers his gaze, realizing that he has just been humiliated by having his boss stolen. Meanwhile, Harry finds himself in an incomprehensible space, which is located somewhere in distant space. He is bombarded with a huge number of notifications about rewards for the actions he has performed. After some time, a small creature with wings appears in front of him and greets him. It introduces itself under the name of Ego and says that it is his teaching assistant who will guide him in this world. It states that he has completed the main task and that it has come to help him with his training. Harry reflects that he has never heard of such a thing or read about it on the internet. Ego informs that first he needs to give out rewards for the task he completed. Harry receives 1 token to upgrade a detail trait, which is an advancement of the first profession. Ego also states that this can be explained by the deepening of aspects of the unique feature that Harry possesses. It also says that he can choose one of his abilities and improve its detailed feature. Initially, he is offered to improve his passive income of skill points, but he realizes that he is too weak now. Despite the temptation of the offer, now we need to focus on something else. If his skills hadn't reset during the last raid, he wouldn't have been able to kill the final boss. This leads to the logical decision that increasing the number of skills used would be better at this point. So it chooses a feature that allows it to retry 2 copy attempts every 12 hours. These are impressive numbers, but Ego immediately suggests checking the remaining rewards, and Harry agrees. It hands him a fiery sword that accidentally fell out of the chest as a reward for the quest. After that, it gives him the reward from the main quest, which also contains random items. As a reward, he receives an additional task and a huge pile of various trinkets. After waiting for the awards to be handed out, he says he is looking forward to something else. After that, he shows the necklace he took from the last boss, which greatly helps the mages. The item's stats are impressive and will allow it to be incredibly powerful. Harry realizes that if the item is that good, the boss's skill will be several times more effective. He agrees that when HP reaches a critical level, the boss will come to the rescue. Harry realizes that the Angel Canal was a true deity to have such powerful skills. He wonders how he was able to defeat such a creature almost single-handedly. In any case, he now has the ability to have an extra life with a 30-day cooldown. Having opened all the rewards, he also receives a considerable amount of points and decides to thoroughly upgrade himself. Having spent all his points, he falls tiredly onto the star canvas, hoping that they are finally finished. Ego reports that it was just a collection of awards and that the training hadn't even begun yet. He says it's time to get started and get it done. It asks if he remembers the last condition of the main task that was given to him. It reminds him that he must clear a special area for the survival of humanity. Harry asks in surprise what this all means, and Ego states that he has bad news. According to her data, his world will soon be destroyed by invaders from another dimension, so he needs to hurry. Meanwhile, the news reports that an hour after the boss's death, the residents reclaimed clear sky. The announcer also reports that they cannot rule out the possibility of the area mutating again. Henry, at a press conference, states that, unfortunately, they failed because they were beaten to it by a guild of rogues. However, he claims that the raid was a success and the boss was destroyed, meaning the safety of the citizens is ensured. He is asked what the reward was for the special area boss, and he states that everyone received a stat boost. After some time, the journalist asks if the boss gave out any items. Henry barely contains his anger and turns around, saying he has nothing more to say to the reporter. Hillary watches this interview with interest and becomes thoughtful after hearing what she heard. Frank assumes that if Henry catches Harry, he will definitely kill him on the spot. Hillary tries to call the protagonist, but the answering machine reports that the connection could not be established. Frank wonders if she's still trying to reach him, even if the man isn't actually Harry. Hillary does not despair, realizing that the same magician used the same spell as Harry. After some time, after several dozen attempts, she finally gets through to Harry. Hillary says in a gentle voice that she will get straight to the point, adding that she recognized him during the raid. Harry wonders what she means by trying to get away, but Hillary makes it clear that she's figured him out. Harry makes up a lame excuse and quickly hangs up, saying he's a little busy. Hillary and Frank listen to this nonsense in bewilderment, realizing that he won't fool anyone this way. Harry consoles himself with the hope that now she will stop calling him, since he has come up with a plausible story. All this time, he is trying to understand who is calling him every minute while he is busy. He was already tired of hearing different stories about how his world would be destroyed by invaders from another dimension. Ego tells him that he shouldn't worry, because he has a special power that can save everyone. Harry looks at her in surprise, and the assistant explains that this is the purpose of a skill master. She adds that this power alters the reality of abilities and is a gift from an unknown deity. Harry wonders why he was given this power, since he is an ordinary person. He also recalls that the only test he passed with honor was military service. Ego says that all this may seem confusing, but he should not think about it too much. It goes into great detail about how Harry has done many good deeds and has been rewarded for them. Now he only has to make the final choices on which everything depends. Ego claims that his power is not the true power of the God Fragments, as he is the man in charge. It then explains that the Force can either remain at rest or evolve depending on its choices. The Ego asks whether it will be content with just survival and its own importance. It adds that he can choose to save the world on his own, and the burden of responsibility will be bestowed upon him. It also asks him not to worry, because salvation is not the hero's duty, but one of many possible choices. Harry returns to the present and realizes that for a parasite like him, talking about saving the world is difficult. Meanwhile, Hillary does some detective work and comes to a startling conclusion. Having carefully weighed all the factors that she managed to notice with her attentive gaze, she realizes that Harry is a psychopath. She then states that she still lacks hard evidence, so she needs to meet and talk to him. Frank asks in surprise why she is so fixated on this man. Hillary says that even the S-rank area is where death is closest. She states that even if she is destined to die, she wants to be the best, and to do that she needs allies like Harry. Frank exhales tensely, realizing that there is absolutely no point in trying to convince his sister otherwise on this issue. He only advises her to give up her habit of acting recklessly if she truly wants to become the best. Hillary agrees with him, after which she provides a detailed analysis substantiating her hypothesis about Harry's personality. After some time, Frank finds himself in the middle of a rather foggy forest. Harry justifies himself to Hillary by saying that he wasn't really hunting and just came here to sell these valuable items. Hillary tells him that she already knows everything, so he can stop pretending. Harry asks her what she means, adding that as a healer, she doesn't know anything else. Frank understands that if an ordinary citizen has attracted the attention of his sister, then there is no way out of this situation. He turns to Harry and says that he will pay him $500 an hour, so he needs to move immediately. After this, he puts his hand on his comrade's shoulder, realizing that wasting time convincing Hillary is pointless. Harry tries to come up with an excuse, but Frank reminds him that he was going to repay his debt for saving him. Harry realizes that Frank has figured him out too, which is why he saved him during the raid, so he throws Frank's hand away. He agrees to go with them, saying that he does not understand what they are offering him, but will go anyway for the money. He also says he'd like to stop for a moment, and Hillary asks what happened. Harry uses his incredible wits again, and without being suspicious at all, announces that he needs to go to the toilet. After some time, Hillary asks Harry to confess that he is the magician who escaped after the raid, and that he is a psychopath. Harry pretends to have trouble hearing and asks what she just said. Hillary says that if it really is him, then she is willing to keep his secret. Harry realizes that he can't get away from these assumptions. He also remembers that Frank also figured him out, so he has no way back. Harry exhales and says that he really is that person, but she mustn't tell anyone. Frank stops and reports that the area is infested with monsters and advises them to stop talking. Harry quickly pulls out a stunning sword from his inventory and declares that it is time to get to work. Hillary is surprised that he can work with a sword, to which he replies that he simply couldn't afford a staff. Thanks to the magical buff, this sword is not the worst weapon for a class like the Skillmaster. Harry decides to test the weapon and discovers that it is covered in ice and fire effects. The whole point is that the sword is not tied to a specific element, so you can combine any elements. Using simple combinatorics, he throws forward an ice spear coated with poison. After this, he decides to use the catalyst skill to detonate all the ice projectiles he fired. Harry looks at the destruction he has created and realizes that ice magic has a right to exist too. Hillary asks in surprise if he is a firebender. Harry muses that fireballs lack damage compared to other abilities. After a while, they head to a cafe to celebrate the success of their hike. Hillary learns the protagonist's age and says with a smile that they will get along well. Immediately after this, they decide to drink to the meeting and clink glasses with large mugs of beer. Harry realizes that he was planning to run away after the hunt, but he fails. We briefly travel back in time to when he was able to finish off the Spider Queen in an instant. Harry is proud that he was able to take out the boss in one fell swoop and earn himself a nice blessing. The time for testing new abilities is coming to an end, but his plans are interrupted by a loud scream from Hillary. Hillary and Frank do not receive a reward because they did not contribute enough to killing the boss. Hillary notes that the protagonist received 501 and single-handedly took the entire reward for himself. She grins and tells him that he should buy everyone a drink, and he agrees, realizing that he's in trouble. Despite the tense atmosphere before, he now understands that he just needs to relax and have a drink with friends. A rather tipsy Hillary announces that she has an offer he can't refuse. She explains that the danger in the area comes not only from monsters, but also from criminals. She adds that once he becomes stronger, this problem is automatically solved. After that, she pours him a glass of alcohol and says that now they will be a real team. She states that even if they were monsters, the situation would still be similar. She makes rational arguments that there is no point in hunting alone and fooling around. She states that high-level areas should also not be approached without a tank and a proper plan. Although signing a contract requires a lot of bureaucracy, Hillary solved all the problems. Harry looks at her in surprise and asks if she really wants to sign a contract with him. Hillary reports that there aren't many trusted users in this area, but he is very strong. She also states that if you can't become the best on your own, then it's better to try to achieve it as a team. Smiling, she declares that she will be a minor character, worse than death. She also hints that this contract opens the door to something even more interesting. As an interesting addition, she offers a free office along with a beauty who will live there. Harry notes that the question is redundant here, but at least it clarifies who the beautiful girl will be. Hillary immediately replies that by beautiful girl she means herself and no one else. Harry states that these are excellent conditions and he cannot refuse, feeling some pressure. Hillary immediately begins to beam with happiness, saying that in that case he can sign the contract. After a while, she hands him a card, telling him that he can buy whatever he needs with this money. She adds that if he needs anything else, he can contact her at any time. Harry finds himself in a stunning office and realizes that the explanation was crystal clear and impressive. This pact is truly incredible because once they team up, hunting becomes much easier than solo. He also notes that Hillary looks quite pretty and he enjoys being in her company. The fact that such a beauty voluntarily became his manager gives him strength and determination. Ever since he mastered the catalyst skill, everything has been going smoothly, but that doesn't stop him from copying other skills. He also increased his skill level, and now he doesn't have to stare at the faces of people whose skills he needs to copy. After some thought, he decides to compile his skills together with the ice spear. He also remembers Hillary's words about how she thinks he is incredibly strong, so he should join them. Harry realizes that if he uses Fireball along with Bloody Combat, the attack power will be insane. After a while, he appears in the main hall and addresses Hillary with important news. Hillary asks what happened, and he states that she needs to prepare a reduction in the area. He tells them that he will help them get as far as possible today, and they immediately start getting ready. Frank asks if they're really going to go to the C-rank area with just the three of them. Hillary asks what's special about this area, noting that they just wanted to try it once. Harry, being a low-level character, nevertheless remains optimistic about the entire campaign. While there are recommendations for dungeon levels, these are just recommendations and not hard and fast rules. Harry says he has come up with the perfect plan that will give everyone a gigantic amount of experience. After some time, the scene moves to a high-ranking area. This area is notorious for its mobile plant monsters that are easily camouflaged. This is why it is necessary to take with you at least 2 characters who can deal area damage. However, today everything will be different, because the heroes have come fully armed. After taking proper aim, the main characters decide to use the Fireball skill, destroying the opponents. It's hardly a secret to anyone that fire is best suited for fighting tree monsters. Harry receives a random buff that increases skill damage by 10% and is delighted by it. After this, he steps forward, activating the bloody battle buff to accumulate more damage. Taking proper aim, he decides to use the explosion skill to unleash tons of fire on his enemies. Coupled with all the other improvements, he can now copy up to 5 skills at once. Harry begins to act, attracting as much attention to his person as possible and justifying the nickname of a psychopath. Meanwhile, he begins to be followed, and unknown agents carefully record his every move. They relay to their superior that the target's location has been confirmed and that the skills and appearance are consistent. A few moments later, the observer throws the sword at the monitor where Harry is. This scoundrel says that if the boy wants to die, then he must follow his will. Harry, meanwhile, continues to destroy monsters left and right using his fire-throwing skills. He also manages to increase his levels several times, significantly improving his characteristics. However, he suddenly discovers an object that is far from what it seems at first glance. Harry looks closely at what lies in front of him and realizes that it is not an item that can be taken from the inventory. He lets out a loud scream, causing Hillary and Frank to immediately turn around to see what happened. Harry tells them that there is a dead body here, and he relaxed, thinking that there was no one here, but he killed someone by mistake. Hillary advises him to calm down and states that a man would not have burned to a bare skeleton, but would have left ashes. Looking at the remains, she realizes that it is unlikely that anyone came here without a weapon, which means that he was attacked and then robbed. She then states that they better report it to the cleaning department so they can get rid of the body. Harry asks her why she is so calm, but Hillary states that murders happen here quite often. Harry is shocked to hear this information and asks if there had been any attempts to kill her before. Hillary smiles and says that of course this happened, and what's more, it was a member of her squad. Hillary describes the situation by saying that while hunting, she was attacked from behind. She adds that it is quite easy to identify the enemy when hunting monsters, since they are all enemies. However, with people things are different, and there is another important detail that adds to the equation. Hillary asks the protagonist if she is attractive in terms of appearance. Harry doesn't have time to respond, and Hillary states that this is one of the reasons why she is being attacked. It was on that occasion that she first killed a man in self-defense. Clapping her hands joyfully, she says that these garbage bags were to blame for their own fate. In conclusion, she advises him to be careful since there are quite a lot of crazy people here. She advises him to hide behind Frank's shield as soon as it becomes dangerous enough to not take risks. Harry starts to put on a brave face, saying that even if Kynel came here again, he would still be alive. Hillary says he deserves extra points for confidence, when suddenly a strange device appears next to her leg. Harry fails to warn his comrades in time, and the smoke bomb explodes right at their feet. Harry quickly turns around, realizing that the trees have begun to move, meaning they are trapped. A whole wave of monsters is starting to come at them, and they are not about to give them a moment's respite. Frank rushes forward and says they just have to stay behind him. Harry runs forward, saying that he can handle them completely on his own. Meanwhile, an unknown shooter prepares to fire a crossbow bolt straight at Harry. Having confirmed the target, he fires, but the arrow literally bounces off the protagonist's skin. Harry is glad that his physical skills allowed him to survive the gunshot, calling the criminals amateurs. It's too early to rejoice, as a few moments later he is hit with several weakening effects. Unable to withstand such weakening, he falls to his knees, barely able to move. The leader of the Bandits Guild who organized this hunt hopes for a good time. Harry feels incredible pain, preventing him from moving, but the monsters do not sleep. Hillary tries to save her comrade, but a giant monster appears on her way. Of course, this monster doesn't stand a chance and immediately falls victim to the fire spear skill. Within moments, almost nothing remains of his gigantic body. However, behind his back, even more monsters immediately rise up, determined to take revenge. Hillary realizes that even under normal circumstances, they would be surrounded, and now they have a wounded man. Hillary quickly makes the decision to evacuate the priority target and clear an escape route. Frank puts his shield forward and is quickly surrounded by giant tree monsters. Hillary fights them off with fire attacks while dodging further attacks. After a while, another smoke grenade rolls towards them, and Hillary uses the firestorm skill. The leader of the Bandits Guild cheekily asks where they are going on such a fine day. He and a bunch of his henchmen ask if they really plan to escape from here without a fight. Frank looks at the villain with distrust and asks who he is and what he wants from them. The crime boss reveals that he is the one who needs to get even with their group. He states that if they hand over the man, they will live, but Hillary hints that this will not happen. The criminal grabs the sword and instantly blocks the fire attack with his blade. Hillary looks at him closely and realizes that he is a member of the guild that participated in the raid. Smiling, he says that although she is pretty, She's just a stupid woman, so he has no other choice. After this, he declares that she will also die here and gives the command to throw another smoke bomb in their direction. His command is immediately carried out, and Hillary does not have time to repel this attack due to its surprise. As soon as the bomb explodes, a huge number of forest monsters begin to move again. Hillary realizes that these are pheromone bombs and prepares to defend her comrade. The monsters continue to advance, regardless of losses, in the hope of trampling the enemy. Frank blocks their attacks, while Hillary furiously burns anyone and everyone who gets close enough. Meanwhile, Harry is still under the weakening effect, hoping that his body will stop suffering. He wonders if he will die in such a ridiculous situation. After a while, the terrible sound of injury makes him instantly come to his senses and look around. He sees that his comrades have fought valiantly for him all this time and have not abandoned him in such a hopeless situation. He tries to understand why they didn't leave him, and suddenly remembers that they swore to always stand by his side. Hillary turns around and asks him if he is okay and how he feels. Harry reveals that he has only one request, which is that they keep what he is about to see a secret. Hillary and Frank turn around in surprise, realizing that the main character is starting to glow. Meanwhile, the leader of the Bandits Guild asks his potential victims if they have not yet given up. He promises to grant them a painless death as a prize, which Harry will not be granted. He also looks at the protagonist, saying that he wonders how long he will be lying down. Without hiding his arrogance, he says that there is no point in hoping, since he is in great pain from the injuries he received. Harry agrees with his assumptions, noting that he is indeed in a lot of pain and can barely stand on his feet. The criminal laughs and says that these are just a couple of scratches compared to what he will have to endure. Harry raises his hand to use one of his fighting skills. His opponents laugh, saying that they were fully prepared for the fireballs he threw. Harry ignores their looks and asks how confident they are in their invulnerability. The leader of the criminals looks up and realizes that not only a fireball is about to fall upon them, but something more serious. Harry immediately creates a huge number of vortexes in order to use the most powerful spell. Taking careful aim, he unleashes meteor shower spells on them to destroy the barriers. The leader rushes forward, realizing that this psychopath wants to kill everyone, because the area of damage of the skill is simply huge. Finally, he loudly shouts a curse at Harry, promising to get even with him once and for all. A few moments pass, and where their opponents had just stood, there are only craters and smoking bodies. Harry falls to the ground tensely, saying that they were able to survive despite everything. Looking up at the sky, he realizes that if it weren't for his teleportation skill that he recently acquired, he would have died. We are transported back some time when he was still preparing for the raid, choosing additional abilities. He copied the fireball, explosion, and blood rage, but there was still one spot left. By pure chance, he came across a demonstration of a teleportation skill that allows one to dodge. It turned out that he had copied the mass teleportation skill, which could transport the entire group at once. Overjoyed, he jumps on the bed, saying that today is clearly his day and luck will follow him. Looking at his surviving comrades, he says that all the details will be provided a little later. Hillary looks at him in surprise and says that if everything worked out, then they can move on to more interesting things. By this, she suggests real looting, because those who attacked them will no longer need these things. After some time, other users who came here to hunt are surprised by the destruction that remains here. Looking at the size of these huge holes, they wonder what could have left them. Harry knows he's saved his own skin, but it's only a matter of time before he's found out. After some time, they come home and he tells them that he is a master of skills. He explains that this is an extremely powerful class, capable of copying and using absolutely any skill. Hillary notes that it's now unclear why he could deal damage, heal, and attack at the same time. Hillary asks him if he copied her skills, but he doesn't give a definitive answer. She also asks if he can copy Frank's skills, to which he replies that without equipment it is pointless. Hillary says it doesn't matter, and she's only interested in how many skills he can copy. Harry states that it is a secret for now, which he cannot divulge for security reasons. Frank offers to get to the point and asks if he knows anything about those attackers. Harry reports that he is almost certain that these are people from the squad that went on the raid on the boss. Hillary shares with her comrades a guess about where these people might be from. They listen to her attentively, and the girl declares that this is probably a raider guild. Hillary reveals that it is a group that collects items from bosses, and Harry states that he has met her before. Hillary recalls that just recently they invited them to their place, promising to supply them with loot from bosses. Harry asks her how she knew it was them, and Hillary states that they had specific items. In general, this organization has branches all over the world, so it is not known for certain who is behind them. Hillary warns the protagonist that he needs to be careful, as he has made enemies everywhere. After a while, he finds himself in his room and collapses on his bed, feeling completely exhausted. To be honest, he really has managed to get noticed, and his identity will be revealed very soon. The only way to deal with this is to become much stronger, so we need to hurry. He puts a lot of experience points into leveling up, realizing that it would be even better if he gained experience lying on the couch. Having distributed all the necessary skill points among the necessary features, he decides to upgrade the most useful skill. Now, whenever he steals someone else's abilities, he will receive 2 unique traits. Now comes the fun part, and it brings up a window of additional unique characteristics. He discovers that he can now retain his skills forever if he wishes. Naturally, the first thing he decides to do is to keep the change resistance skill he had in storage. His priorities become the skills of resistance to change, radiance, and bloody combat, as they are the strongest. The smartest tactic is to keep randomly using skills until they level up. Could one have imagined then that after some time he would meet face-to-face with Muhammad Al himself? Muhammad Al says he is very pleased to meet them, reminding them that they have never met in person before. Harry just decides to take a rest when suddenly Hillary runs into the room and announces that they have guests. As soon as he comes out to greet the guests, the mighty figure of Muhammad Allah appears before him. The Great Wizard reports that Harry has caused quite a stir, and now everyone is saying that they have discovered his identity. Muhammad Al reassures him that everything has already been taken care of, and Hillary asks why they came. Muhammad Al explains that one can be a little careful, as he wanted his friend to think about all this. After this, he states that the people who attack them belong to a global raider guild. Hillary says they already knew this because the attackers were wearing the appropriate gear. Muhammad Al adds that coincidentally, he is also fighting this guild and has some information. After that, he says that they are now going to a ski resort. He tells that there will be a treasure hunt by the raider leaders. Hillary asks incredulously why he needs such valuable information if he himself does nothing. Muhammad Al says that unfortunately he cannot intervene directly as his actions will attract attention. Selena tells her boss that time is running out and they need to get going so they don't get late. Muhammad Al adds that all good things come to an end, but next time they will talk longer. He also says they have complete freedom to use the information he provided. He states that they can either unite and destroy the enemy, or they can choose to stay safe. Meanwhile, we are transported to an incomprehensible dimension, where the main members of the Raiders Guild have gathered. A strange girl emerges from the portal, looking quite menacing. This girl is so strong that she can hold up a giant lizard with one hand, which she destroyed. One of the employees bows before her and calls her by her name, Liara, before welcoming her into their ranks. With a flick of her fingers, she sends the offending employee flying straight into the wall, killing him instantly. She states that since the former head of the Raider Guild is dead, she can take his place without objection. Looking sternly at her subordinates, she informs them that they must now call her the Guild Master. After this, she states that the monster's behavior patterns were determined up to the 20th floor. She asks what happened to that old man's group and is told that it was driven out. Smiling, she notes that this is good news, since the treasure is probably still untouched. After this, she turns to her subordinates and tells them that they must get the treasure. The girl reflects that the time has come for the strongest, who earned money without doing anything, to die. Meanwhile, Harry reaches the ski resort with his friends, enjoying the scenery. Hillary says that they need to finish the task quickly so that they can have a good rest here. Frank remains skeptical, noting that he's still not sure it was a good idea to agree. He recalls Hillary stating that they had to hit the Raider Guild first. From her point of view, she got rid of the boss's loot by selling it under her own name, thereby exposing herself. Frank realizes that they are now in danger and must act as quickly as possible. Hillary chuckles and declares that now all 3 of them are in the same boat, so they must act together. Frank blames himself, saying that he let his guard down and thought that everything would work out on its own. Hillary immediately reassures him, saying that there is nothing to worry about since the 3 of them are veterans. She also states that in order to get to the field, they need to head towards the lift. 2 guards suddenly appear on their way, declaring that this field is under the control of the Enjoy Guild. Hillary asks them, surprised, if they belong to the User Association. She wonders why they are guarding this place, when suddenly someone swings a ball near her face. The blow cuts off several strands of hair, and the impudent fellow declares that this place belongs to their guild and no one else. Harry understands that this kind of behavior simply cannot be left unpunished, no matter what. Of course, he's not a valiant hero, but in such a situation one cannot sit idly by. The guards still think they are in charge and are trying to make fun of a disgruntled Hillary. Harry takes a step forward, realizing that they have raised their sword towards one of his comrades. If he has enough strength to break this sword, he should do it this very second. The security guards watching nearby look at him closely and realize that this is the same psychopath from the internet. Harry meanwhile looks at his opponents and asks them why the security doesn't look that strong. After recreating a massive fireball, he asks them if they want to know what it really means to be strong. The guards sense that they have just gotten themselves into a serious mess and are trying to come up with a quick excuse. After a while, he casts a powerful spell near them, causing them to immediately scatter. They realize that this psychopath is actually threatening them with real spells, and they fall to their knees. Harry states that if he ever sees them again, he will simply kill them. Hillary is surprised, noting that somehow Harry looks a little different than he did a few minutes ago. Afterwards, she shouts after him, saying that his power control was simply amazing. Harry immediately turns around and shyly says that he is a little shy because he can be quite a dictator. He notes that this is the first time in his life that he has threatened someone, and perhaps blackmail is his true calling. After some time, they are transported to a battlefield where users fight frost werewolves. They are happy that all the spoils will now go to them alone, and they regret that they did not start capturing this field earlier. After some time, a powerful fireball flies near one of the guild members, which scares him. They turn towards the stranger who attacked them and ask what the hell he is doing. The stranger claims that he simply came here to hunt, but he is told that this area is under the control of the guild. They advise him not to waste his energy, as there are many other fields where he can hunt. The stranger takes off his hood and declares that he will still see who will have to leave here. Taking this as a challenge, they rush at the unknown man, only to find themselves immediately ambushed. After only a few moments, almost the entire group that was hunting the monsters is killed. Watching what is happening, the leader of this group notes that there is quite a lot of useless garbage here. He learns that the Enjoy Guild has taken control of the area and orders the group to split into a requisitioned search party. After this, he looks at the top of the mountain and realizes that they need to get to the highest place. The purpose of this group is to find imitation bracelets that are of incredible value. Meanwhile, Harry jokes with Hillary, and Frank urges them to be more reasonable. He states that the Raider Guild outnumbers them, so they need to strike first. After that, he asks them how one can even tell the Enjoy Guild from the Raider Guild. Harry says Enjoy told them their goal was to hunt for treasure. Hillary asks him, surprised, what he's getting at, to which he states that he's deciding to tell her about his plan. The Raiders Guild, meanwhile, continues to patrol the area in hopes of taking out any targets. One of the soldiers suddenly discovers that a thick fog has appeared behind him and hears the sound of footsteps. Turning around, they see a huge number of snow-covered monsters who are following the scent of pheromones. The monsters become enraged and quickly pounce on their prey to deal with it. Harry continues to watch them from afar, noting that it is indeed an interesting sight. Looking at them, he says that being the target of pheromones and bombs is far from the best pleasure in the world. Frank asks how to tell the enemy apart, to which Harry replies that if they don't run away when they see monsters, that will make a big difference. Harry assumes that in this case they are either ready to farm experience points or they have important business. Hillary and Frank take a close look at the skills these people are using and realize they didn't come here for the level. Harry concludes that they came here for something more important, and their target is not monsters. Harry decides to follow them and finally decides to leave a smoke bomb for the opponents. Hillary looks closely at her comrade, noting that he is acting as if he has been replaced. Meanwhile, the raiders wonder where the place they are looking for is and discover a cave. They rush towards a depression in the landscape, hoping that this is where the treasure lies. Harry discovers their movement and notices that they have hit the jackpot. Harry suddenly realizes that he is about to attack those who tried to kill him, but he feels incredibly calm. Hillary asks him if he's okay, but someone points out that he's just lost in thought. Now is not the time to be daydreaming, so he takes his crossbow and takes careful aim for a powerful shot. Meanwhile, the raiders in the next rooms note that volunteering for reconnaissance and hiding here was the best decision. Harry lies in wait for them, taking careful aim before pulling the trigger. A few moments later, 2 crossbow bolts are aimed towards the notorious villains. The girl doesn't have time to dodge and falls to the ground, while the young man manages to block the attack. Harry looks closely at his opponents, realizing that these arrows were poisoned, which means they both lost their combat effectiveness. Harry and his comrades continue to advance forward, preparing to take revenge. He states that he will have to beat them until their health drops to almost 0. After some time, the raiders contact the reconnaissance group to report on the situation. It becomes obvious that they have lost contact with the people standing at the entrance, which means they need to be on guard. Looking around, they understand that they need to protect the treasure at any cost and not let it disappear. Running out into the street, they are confronted with an unpleasant sight, as their comrade lies unconscious in the snow. Hillary greets these people by using her firestorm skill and immediately unleashes it on them. The raider team's defender creates an indestructible energy wall to protect against fire. Hillary is surprised and realizes that their opponents are not so weak if they could withstand something like this. In response, the raiders send a powerful bolt of thunder in their direction, but Frank doesn't let them down even here. He takes the full brunt of the attack, causing him to lose his fighting ability for a while, but his friends remain untouched. The raiders try to take advantage of the opportunity, saying that the tank has been neutralized and that they need to act before time runs out. His comrades immediately rush forward to break the enemy team's resistance at the root. Harry smirks, realizing that underestimating your opponent can easily lead you into a terrible trap. After preparing several spells, he decides to use the ultimate explosion skill for maximum effect. He multiplies all his abilities and decides to end this duel by throwing a fireball. An unsuspecting raider mage states that the fireball skill is very weak. Before he can finish his arrogant tirade, their entire team is blown away by a powerful stream of flame. Manga and his comrades are thrown aside by the incredible force. He wonders what happened since he applied 95% damage reduction. Harry, meanwhile, grabs the treasure, saying that he will find a better use for it, and thanks them. Immediately after this, he directs a powerful explosion towards them to finish them off once and for all. Meanwhile, the main group of raiders notes that once they finish off the monsters, they will head to the top. After some time, an explosion occurs on the mountain, and the leader of the group orders everyone to drop what they are doing and head there. Meanwhile, Harry, Hillary, and Frank continue to search for the trophies left behind by the fallen villains. Harry wonders happily how others managed to carry so many artifacts with them. Hillary says it's better not to reveal her location to these guys because then there will be a lot of problems. She adds that even the black market has its limitations. When she suddenly sees the face of her brother, who has found a new shield. She even loses things for a while, realizing that he asks so little from her. But she could not cope with this. She reassures him that they don't have to sell it all because they can find a use for it. After this, she approaches the main character and hands him the bracelet, saying that this is his share. Harry looks closely at the bracelet, and the system informs him that this bracelet mimics any accessory he is wearing. Hillary says they don't have a lot of things worth imitating, so this would look better on him. After this, she confidently says that he is, in any case, the trump card of their team. Harry bows gratefully and declares that from now on he will only call her goddess. After some time, a real pogrom begins at the headquarters of the Raiders Guild. Liara asks her subordinate what he just said, claiming that she didn't hear him. He immediately falls to his knees, saying that he apologizes for disturbing him. After that, he says with difficulty pronouncing words that the imitation bracelet was stolen. Liara states that they gave it to a combat unit capable of taking out bosses, and they still managed to lose it. The subordinate explains that those who encountered the monsters survived, while the relay group sent for the treasure was killed. Analysis of the survivors' chest cameras revealed that pheromone bombs were used to attract the monsters. Liara asks him what about the cameras of the exterminated group, which were supposed to film something. The assistant claims that all these cameras were destroyed, as if someone had specifically noticed them. Liara pauses for a moment, noting that the boss's artifact is quite a valuable item. After that, she sits down on a chair and says that the enemy used skills and artifacts to disperse the forces. After doing a little analysis, she reports that there was an explosion there, so that Psycho is probably behind it. After this, she steps on his head and declares that they must do everything to ensure that this does not happen again. She also expresses a wish that next time they would bring his head on a platter along with the bracelet. Hillary says that she decided to keep the boss's artifact and not put it up for sale. Harry states that if they sell it, they could improve their weapons several times over. Hillary is talking about how we need to prevent them from being tracked down now like she allowed to be before. She also claims that this does not mean that she is giving up hunting, so they don't have to worry. Turning to Harry, she asks if he really is level 20 and receives an affirmative answer. After that, she shows him all the areas, from which it becomes clear that rewards can still be obtained in the F-rank area. Hillary looks closely at the protagonist and asks how many of these areas he has already overcome. Having carefully calculated everything, he says that he has defeated absolutely all enemies except one area. Hillary says that once he gets this boss, he will never be the same again, so he needs to hurry. From now on, their plan is to attack bosses of unpopular areas without attracting attention. Hillary also says that if it comes down to it, you can collect all the E-rank areas to level up. After some time, they find themselves on a coastal sand dune to fight a sand giant. Harry prepares to fight this monster, testing out his new power-up skills along the way. In just a few moments, he easily destroys the giant sand giant. Hillary looks at him with interest and wonders how many minutes it took him to do this. Harry honestly admits that it took him 5 minutes and 45 seconds to kill this boss. Hillary happily hugs him, noting that he has achieved his goal and suggests they celebrate. Harry says that no parties are needed for this, while thanking them for the work done. On the one hand, it may seem that his bracelet is to blame, but additional abilities greatly enhance it. This increases all of his stats by 15 points, which is an incredible boost. Harry states that if he continues to improve, he may even become stronger than Muhammad Ali himself. Hillary says we can talk about it when he reaches those heights, while Harry is running ahead. All this time, Ego has been watching his adventures and decides that it is time to intervene. A system notification appears in front of the main character, informing him of a new quest. He is offered to capture a special E-rank field in exchange for an incredibly large amount of experience points. Looking at the conditions and reward, he realizes that the reward is almost 1,000,000 experience. This is an unprecedented reward for the quest, but it remains to be seen where this special field will appear. Having received the coordinates, he tries to find out on the internet how to get to this area and freezes in surprise. Hillary asks him after a while if they all have to clear this special field. Harry says he knows this is not an easy task, but it is the best they can do. Hillary states that he needs to fly there by airship, and despite the fact that he has leveled up, he still has no experience. She also notes that we are talking about a special area abroad, which means that you will have to obtain permission to enter. Hillary wonders who the only person is who can get them this permit. Remembering that this man is Henry, she says that it is better to postpone this conversation for later. After this, she states that Harry must move on to the second stage of pumping in order to move forward. After that, she says that the problem is that he temporarily buffs himself but still uses Fireball. Harry says that copying the abilities of higher-ranking users is not that easy. Hillary argues that not everyone is as attention-seeking as Muhammad Al. Hillary suddenly asks him if he knows how to improve the traders. Harry asks her what he means, to which she states that she doesn't know of any merchants who sell S-rank buffs. Harry instantly remembers the girl who gave him her number after the giant crab incident. Harry says that he does have contacts of a person who can help them with this. Ego, meanwhile, turns to a higher power, informing him that the hero has accepted the second main quest that was given to him. The goddess says that his memories are slowly starting to return, so Earth is one step closer to salvation. Ego states that she wanted to meet the hero who saved the world she was in, to see him again. She also wonders if he is still the hero she knew since he has no memories. The goddess explains that he has many physical incarnations, but they are all one. The ego declares that in this case we are talking about a real deity who can afford the impossible. After this, she asks if the hero will make the same choice, but she is told that they cannot interfere. After this, the deity says that she should move on and watch the heroes she missed so much. The deity also states that she must decide for herself whether she will help him or not. After some time, Ego turns into the same girl who helped him during the battle with the crab. Sometime later, Harry, Hillary, and Frank return to the park where he once sold healing. Hillary asks him if he means to tell her that she came all this way without spending a penny. Harry explains that it just means he's incredibly popular. Frank, with his usual calm, says that there is clearly something wrong with this girl. A few more moments pass, and the disguised Ego appears next to the hero, hugging him by the shoulder. She presses herself closer to him, which immediately attracts the attention of Hillary, who is not happy about this. Harry makes an excuse, saying he was a little busy, and Ego notes that he looks a little embarrassed. Hillary greets Ego, stating that she has heard a lot about him from Harry, clarifying that she is an SS rank buffer. There is immediate tension between them, and they exchange a few small barbs. Harry says that this friend is bossing him around, but he immediately gets criticism. Frank calmly states that they need buffers for their power-up plan to work. Ego looks at them closely and asks how much money they are willing to pay to get this buff. Frank hands her the unconscious Harry, telling her that she should consult with the financial manager. Harry realizes that the situation is getting worse because he had not anticipated anything like this. Harry begins to ramble, saying that they need something very powerful and strong. Ego listens carefully to all his wishes and says that he has something that she can offer. After that, she uses the Heavenly Melody skill to grant a huge amount of boosts. Harry receives additional bonuses as he is the owner of an exceptional class. The ego is happy that it was able to bring some benefit, and for a while it immerses itself in memories. Once upon a time, she told the hero that there were much better skills to protect him. She was surprised at what he was asking of her, asking if he was okay with something like that. Harry said in his past life that the best defense is a good offense, so he doesn't need anything else. Harry thanks her in the present tense, saying that that will be enough. After some time, the video of Harry destroying monsters begins to spread again. Meanwhile, we are transported to a special zone called the Hell Plague Land, which is one of the most difficult. Due to the weather conditions, it is dangerous to stay here for a long time, which is why users die quite often. So they decide to take additional measures and just wait for the boss to show up. The thing is that after some time, ordinary monsters go beyond the special field. Frank says that given that attempts to protect the field have repeatedly failed, this makes sense. He then slams his shield hard onto the hard ground, announcing that he has one basic rule. He says he is always against jumping into a special field without sufficient preparation. Meanwhile, Harry is busy copying the bloody battle skill, and Hillary scolds him for being too cautious. Afterwards, she asks Harry what he is doing, to which he replies that he is trying to copy skills. He continues to watch footage of Henry's battle and hopes to absorb his skills once more. After some time, he spends all copy attempts, but does not receive the proper boost. However, this turns out to be just a system glitch, and unnoticed by others, he gains new abilities. Harry immediately decides to correct this misunderstanding and loudly announces that he has increased the rank of the bloody battle. Hillary remarks that he needs to be careful when suddenly her phone starts ringing loudly. She continues to talk to her interlocutor for some time, not paying attention to Harry and Frank. After that, she reports that they received an urgent call from Henry from the Korean Guild. According to this call, the special field is open to foreigners, meaning they can legally enter it under the supervision of locals. Harry muses that the recruitment from the local guild seems a little strange to him, as it seems like a trap. Nevertheless, they decide to accept this invitation and find themselves in a large assembly hall within a few hours. Harry looks around, thinking about the fact that they decided to rent a large space. Harry wonders if Hillary has anything to do with what's going on here, since she's a big star. Hillary immediately stretches his cheeks to stop him from babbling too much, when suddenly a loud voice is heard in the air. Henry comes on stage and introduces himself, stating that he is the leader of the raid on the land of the Hell Plague. He then states that the raid will take place in 10 days, and they will leave as soon as all necessary preparations are completed. Henry confidently notes that they are all the best participants of the raid, who have passed a careful selection on the Sky Island. He asks to trust him, because together they can protect the lands of the hellish plague. However, Henry then says that before they exchange information about the field, they should briefly introduce themselves. After this, he announces that he will go first, adding that he is level 9 with a unique critical strike trait. Harry wonders if it's a new term at school and why everyone is talking about their names. He also begins to feel like Henry is staring straight at him, hoping to uncover his identity. Harry hears enthusiastic speeches about Henry from his fans, but pays no attention to them. Henry gets up and declares that he is an S-rank tank, continuing the circus. Hillary decides to play along, revealing that she is a fire mage and has the Flame of the Apocalypse skill. Harry realizes that all of this is being done solely because of him, so he has to improvise. After this, he stands up and says that his name is Harry, but everyone else probably knows him as a psychopath. He also reveals that he is an SS rank mage, adding that he is pleased to meet everyone. After the meeting ends, Hillary asks if he wants to go to a restaurant with her. After a while, he notices that Henry is already heading towards them, and he realizes that it's time to talk. Henry wonders if he really stole the boss's artifact along with the disguised group. Harry realizes that it's time to set the record straight and reveals that he killed the boss but didn't take the artifact. He explains that he found some suspicious guys hanging around the boss, but the raid couldn't be stopped. He also adds that it cannot be called theft of the artifact, since it dealt the greatest damage to the boss. Looking confidently at his interlocutor, he says that if it bothers him, he can leave. Harry realizes that if they are going to work together, they need to be brutally honest with each other. Henry says that 2 of his men died fighting this monster, so he must be sure that Harry is not one of them. Turning around, he notes that if Harry didn't join the Raiders Guild, he might feel right at home. Hillary notes that Harry has shown himself to be a real tough guy right now. Henry states that everything went smoother than he initially imagined. Frank adds that he was initially sure that Henry would simply kill Harry for what he did. Harry realizes that the worst is behind him, so now he has to move on, with a little worry about the future. He begins to be tormented by doubts about whether he did the right thing by revealing his identity almost immediately. He thinks that everyone will be shocked when they find out who the psychopath is, but everyone reacts calmly. Meanwhile, we are transported to the lair of the Queen of the Raider Guild to find out how they are doing. Liara looks at the advert, which shows all the members of the protagonist's group calling him lucky. She grins and announces that they are joining the expedition to turn this psycho into a ghost. She recommends carefully studying all changes in the composition of other raid groups in order to destroy them. We are transported to a place that is considered a real killing field. After several hours of flying, Harry steps off the bus, feeling an incredible cold that penetrates him. They get here for a long time, and they already have a certain impression of these places. First of all, it is worth noting that it is damn cold here, which is not surprising for such lands. They are met by a guide who informs them that the temperature here is usually not so low. However, due to the fact that this area is under the influence of an anomalous zone, the temperature here begins to fluctuate. This man asks Harry and his men to clear the area of the plague, as he believes they are the only hope. After some time, people who look like pilgrims, led by a beautiful girl, become visible from the snowstorm. These people turn out to be a religious organization called the Jin Lee Cult. It was originally a large religious sect that recruited people through cheap, low-grade skills. However, it later gained immense power thanks to just one user. Of course, this user was a certain miraculous healer, presumably S rank, named Sophie. Hillary notes that this is the same saint from the cult that everyone is talking about. Harry immediately decides to show off his intelligence and says that he remembered that these people are those very same sectarians. Hillary immediately explains to him that talking to clergymen like that is clearly not the best idea. One religious fanatic claims that God loves even innocent lambs who have not seen miracles. Sophie turns and walks away, not wanting to talk to Harry and his gang anymore. Her assistant informs them that they need to recuperate before clearing the field, so they will go inside. Harry is immediately reprimanded by Hillary, who points out that he is not paying attention to his words. Suddenly, a young man appears behind them and notes that Harry has a point. He explains that rumors about how this cult collects followers and deprives them of their property are widespread. Frank takes a few steps toward the stranger and asks who he is. The young man introduces himself as the leader of the Raider Guild that has joined them, but Frank does not shake his hand. The young man reports that he heard about an unpleasant incident in a recent battle and wants to avoid unnecessary conflicts. After this, he emphasizes that the most important thing is that they do not interfere with each other and do not create problems. Harry and his friends continue to watch the raiders warily, realizing that they should not expect kindness from them. After a while, their leader turns around and leaves, but his masked comrades continue to watch. Harry notes that he was well aware that the raiders would also be involved in order to gather information. Frank points out that the field is designed for 3 groups, so you need to find and defeat the boss as quickly as possible. After some time, the moment comes for the operation to begin, and the group gathers near the gate. Henry watches them closely and informs them that if everyone is ready, they can begin. Everyone is silent, nodding in incredible determination, and the group, led by Henry, moves forward into the unknown. Harry looks around the area in surprise, realizing that he hasn't been to such places for a long time. After some time, they notice many figures that vaguely resemble people. It quickly becomes clear that the undead live here and are very dangerous opponents. From the first seconds, Henry's group comes under the onslaught of monsters and decides to fight to get through further. The undead attack without regard for losses, since the monsters do not feel pain and defeating them is not easy. They are fighting against the best warriors Henry could find, meaning that such monsters are not a serious obstacle for them. However, they initially encounter difficulties, as the monsters are in no hurry to die. They quickly realize that the solution lies in chopping off the heads of skeletons. After some time, they set up camp, and most people note that it was a serious brawl. Hillary feels very tired and praises herself for picking a lot of greenery with her mother. Henry, meanwhile, orders his comrades to check a series of objects to make sure everything is in place. Hillary looks at Harry and asks why he is so beaming, to which he replies that he has received buffs. The thing is, he was once already a target for serious enhancements, but he was unable to enjoy them. However, now, with passive skills like resistance to all types of damage, he feels better than ever. Harry reveals that he forgot about one amazing feature, as it was previously unthinkable. Frank does not want to listen to further explanation and advises him not to get into trouble. Henry also turns to the others and says that he would like some attention so he can outline his plan. He points out that now everyone is convinced that there are practically no safe places in this territory. He also states that their goal is to defeat the boss, not to farm experience points, so they need to conserve resources. That's why he says they're going on a reconnaissance mission to search for the field. Looking at Harry and his comrades, he wonders if there are any volunteers willing to go there.